Hey everybody, it's Travis speaking. In past couple trainings that I've had, there has been a couple questions about how to get elements to show up in 3D that don't typically show up relative to the element that they're created in. And an example of this is corrugated metal deck inside of a floor assembly. So I've got a floor assembly set up here in Revit. You can see in this 3D view there is a floor here. It's set to parts. I'm going to change that back to show original. You can't see any difference really. There's nothing really showing me the underside of that corrugated deck with its actual geometry. So if I switch to section, I'll show you what I mean. Inside of the floor assembly, which is this portion right here, you can see where the corrugated metal deck is placed. And that is actually set up with a profile. That if I go to this floor type and hit edit type and go into its structure, you can see that there's this one layer here that is controlled by a profile. Okay, so there's some multiple types in here because of the non-composite family that I've got in here, and so it lets me change this up. If I click on preview and I change these, you can see it's going from the different profile types. So I'm going to set that back to 9/16 by 2 inches, and you can see I've got this set up here with 2 pieces of 5/8 gypsum. And if I wanted to as well, you could also select this this profile driven layer of this and change it from bound layer above to standalone. Right now it's standalone. If it was to be filled with concrete, you can see now it's filling that overall depth with the board itself, but I don't actually want that to happen, so I'm going to say standalone and leave this as is. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK, and now where I found that same profile, I need to create a 3D version of that so that I can employ this fascia hack to a bunch of model lines I'm going to place under here. Okay, so to do that, let's see, where was that profile held? If I go to my big R here and click on open, I'm going to go to family and choose profiles, and then I'm going to go to the metal deck folder and open up the form deck non-composite. Okay, so this will, oh, it's saying that I've reverted it. That's right, I've got this open here. That's not what we want. Let's open family, profiles, metal deck. Alright, so this is the original here. Okay, this one here has just single lines. You'll notice that it's single lines, and this fills that space in that floor assembly. And the profile usage is also set to slab metal deck. So what I'm going to do is, first things first, go and change the profile usage to fascia, and then go to create lines, and I'll put in the offset for the pick lines option 1/8 of an inch, and then you can see I can come in here and I can just fill this up. Okay, so the last thing you need to do is make sure that this is closed for the, oh, I did that again. Create lines with no offset. And now you have what can be used for a fascia profile. So we'll save this as a separate name, and then you bring this into your project by saying load into project. I've already got this in the project, so I've saved it as a separate name, non-composite 3D. Okay, so I'm just going to close that for the time being. And now what I need to do is put some model lines in that I can host this fascia to. So I'm going to choose the ceiling plan for level 1. I've got the view range set up so that I can see this deck above the level. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to architecture, choose model lines, set my placement plane to level 2, and then put in an offset of 2 inches. Okay, so I'll use the pick lines option here and offset in a couple of these, and we'll do one more. Okay, so these ones I can extend all the way up. If I want, I can use this extend multiple elements, and then by using this as my boundary, I can get that to go all the way to the border. These ones are fine. I'll just repeat that process here. Okay, so that should be good enough to get this started. Now, to create the 3D aspect of this, what I need to do is go back to architecture and click on roof, select fascia where I have this fascia profile set up. Okay, so to do that I had to hit edit type. I duplicated the original one that's in there, fascia flat 1x12. I renamed it metal corrugate, and then using the profile that I used in the last step, you can see I've got all of these types now that are set up with the 3D version. Okay, so I'm going to stick with the 9/16 because that's what's being used in my floor, and I changed the material to metal furring. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Just go in, select a material you want. If it's painted, you can do that as well. And I'll hit OK. And now what this fascia hack allows you to do is, because you have the model line in there, you can select these elements and they're actually going to host that piece of corrugated deck. Okay, so the reason I did all those three as one, I'm going to hit escape, and then I'm going to go back and do the next one, because these ones I'm going to leave as is. I'm not going to array them. This one I want a separate version. So now that I've got this one, I'm going to take the model line that it's hosted to and the profile, and I'll select array. I'm not going to group and associate these. I'm just going to say give me about 112 of these and move to second. So I know it's 2 inches on center, so I'm going to go 2 inches, and then it should fill in the rest of those corrugated decks for me. Okay, so that's fine for the RCP. I'm not really looking to show that right now, but on my 3D view that I've got set up here, now you can see there's some depth, but those green model lines are still showing. So how do we simply get rid of something in a view if we don't want it there, but we still want to keep it in place? I'm going to click on VV on my keyboard, go find lines, and I'm just going to shut lines off in this view. And now you can see I'm just seeing all that geometry that's making up that metal deck. Okay, so I'm going to use my 3D tool here now. This little steering wheel, this is a handy feature. I'll walk over closer to this column until I get in the center. And now if I use the look option, I can look all around and see all those corrugated, those flutes for the corrugated deck. So that's really nice. Now that I can do this render, I'm going to get that texture on the ceiling if it's exposed deck for this, this particular application. So that's just one way that you can use different profile usage to achieve a certain result. Another way that you might use this is if you created a profile for dimensional lumber, you could put model lines onto a face of a roof and then use this fascia hack to put in the rafter framing if you wanted. So just a quick tip for you guys. If you have any questions on that, please leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye now.